Hello and welcome to Hive Live for all of your build-up to today's Premier League tie between Watford and Brighton. This show is free to view for all Watford fans for the next 45 minutes or so. So let's start by running you through what we have coming up. So we will, of course, be bringing you all of the highlights from last week's brilliant start to the season, that 3-2 win over Aston Villa. We're also going to be hearing from Craig Cathcart, who played in last week's season opener here at Vicarage Road, and be bringing you the inside track on today's opponents, Brighton. That will include an interview with their head coach, Graham Potter. And then we'll be hearing from one of our summer signings, Joshua King. Not only that, we've got the team news for you very shortly as well. So lots to get through between now and 5:30. Far too much for me to bring you on my own. So I'm especially grateful to have with me here in the studio someone who can share that workload, former Hornet striker Tommy Mooney. Hello.
Good afternoon, how are we?
This should be a breeze for you, shouldn't it? 50 commentaries last season, one last week, but today, just here in the studio.
Well, no, I'm a co-host. I feel as if I'm under pressure
Sorry,
as well.
How dare I introduce you and not mention that phrase? Sorry, let me do that again. My co-host, Tommy Mooney.
Thank you. That makes me feel a little bit more dignified.
But no commentary duty for you today then. You've got a night off. So who's taking care of that?
A little bit different. It's a special guest. It's our very own goalkeeper, Rob Elliott.
Special guest. You don't want to hype him up too much. You do want to be back in the chair next weekend, don't you?
Well, that's true. I'm just confident. I'm confident that he'll be very nervous and won't be as fluid as I would be.
Is that the first time in your career you've been subbed for a goalkeeper?
Probably not. Factually, probably is, yeah. But I'm sure plenty of managers have thought about throwing a goalkeeper on instead of me. Well,
all the same, it's lovely to have you here in the studio with me. And we're also going to be recording Hive Live Extra immediately after the game. So fingers crossed, we will have another 3 points to be talking about. And actually, I'd like to take this opportunity now for all of you that watched Hive Live Extra last week, because we had record viewing figures, which I imagine the result did have something to do with it. So like I said, more of the same, hopefully, this week. We're going to be taking a look actually at those highlights from Aston Villa shortly. But firstly, Tommy, just how important was it to kick off the season with that win?
I think as much as the win, it was the performance and the atmosphere in the stadium. It was just one of those days that don't happen all of the time. It was one of those days where everything came off. It was just a great day, and back in the Premier League at Vicarage Road, like we'd been talking about for so long, and the players really produced. It was just one of those days you were like proud to be involved with the club. But
to think it took Watford, 12 matches, wasn't it, in the 2019-20 season, to get 3 points in the bag at the very first time of asking. Of course, Xisco wouldn't have been here for the relegation, but relief, I'm sure, for him and the members of that squad.
Huge, and for Xisco and the players to hear the crowd in the stadium, because that's real football. And I've mentioned it many times how I think it was so difficult for the players to play in an empty stadium last year, but to have that noise in what was 99% full the stadium, and to have that performance and to get that result, I just think it was fabulous.
Yeah, just seeing some of the pictures there, just looking around the stadium and seeing all those yellow shirts and scarves, it was special. You say there, though, the players, they would have found it difficult without fans last year. But in the same breath, that would have been a lot for them to take on board, wouldn't it? 20,000 Watford fans in that stadium around them. But I think most of the players, it just benefited their game, didn't it?
I think it helped the way that they started. They were on the front foot and went for Villa right from the first whistle, really. And they were getting success in all areas of the pitch. We talk about the goals and the chances that we created, but the defenders defended very well. The midfielders did a magnificent job in the middle of the pitch to retain possession and to win it back. So all over the pitch, everything came off from the starting 11 and then onto the substitutes.
Do you think home advantage then is back? I mean, for Watford, it never really went away, did it, in the Championship season? But across the board, in the Premier League as well, do you think we'll really see that again?
I think so, because of the encouragement that the supporters give to the players at home stadiums. I think it's a massive advantage, and I think it'll be quite some time before that diminishes. But like you say, Watford at home at Vicarage Road, whether the fans were in or not, the record, certainly under Xisco, is fabulous.
It had all the ingredients, didn't it, to get the 3 points, to have a full house here at Vicarage Road, and then to mark the Graham Taylor match day that way. It was a really fitting tribute, wasn't it?
Yeah, again, let's say it was just one of those great days at Vicarage Road. I had several here as a player, but it was the first time really where I've stood and watched everything that's happened in the stadium on that day and everything go to plan. It was just great.
I'm sure Brighton fans will be hoping the same for them, being back inside the Amex today for the first time in a long while. And if we are talking about home advantage potentially being back, that is something Watford are going to have to contend with today.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, you know, it's a new stadium, a good atmosphere. They'll be just as desperate to watch their team play and hopefully win as the Watford supporters were last week. So yes, I think it will be a difficult task today for that reason, as well as they're an established Premier League team.
Well, we've talked enough about the game against Aston Villa 7 days ago here at Vicarage Road. So let's take a look at the highlights now of that 5-goal thriller.
All sorts of space again for Ismaïla Sarr. With Dennis in the middle, gets another goal and scores! Just listen to the roar. They come for Buendia, didn't quite reach Ings. Sarr with the touch, and it's inviting here for Dennis. Sarr's continued his run in all sorts of space and gets it. Ismaïla Sarr deflected and in. And Watford double their lead. The frustration all too obvious for Aston Villa right now. Kuchka was in full flight. The referee is content to let it go though, because Watford still have it with Kucho. He's straight into the thick of things. Oh! It's been 4 years in the making, but it is a stunning introduction to English football. Leon Bailey for Aston Villa. And there's the chance, there is the finish. Brilliant finish from John McGinn. And the response is swift. This might not quite be done yet. Traore. Messina left his leg out, did he surely? The referee took a long look at it and points to the penalty spot. Danny Ings delivers from the spot and reduces the deficit. But there are only seconds remaining at Vicarage Road. Villa have come back from 3 behind. The Watford lead is 3-2. Well, there has been spirit showed by Smith's side in trying to salvage this, but they've come up just short. Watford return with a win. Not quite as straightforward as it looked like being, but the Hornets have all 3 points on opening day.
Well, great seeing those scenes again at the final whistle. But Tommy, just watching that back, it was such a hard and fast start from Watford, wasn't it? Such high tempo that actually you can kind of see those 2 goals happening even before they do. You think Watford were just a little bit tired towards the end there? Yeah,
and that's understandable. We talked a lot last week about how different a pre-season's been, but it's also that nervous energy towards the game because you realise how well things have gone and you've taken that the lead and trying to hold on to it, and Villa made it really nervous at the end of the game. But I genuinely think that that'll put the players in good stead for when they have to hold on to leads in future, hopefully today, and holding on to that. If it finishes 3-0, it's an easy 10 minutes, final 10 minutes. But going into it the way it did with McGinn's goal and then the penalty, and then perhaps Villa having another opportunity in injury time, I think it really gives them confidence that they can kind of hold on to a lead in the later stages of a game when everybody is going to be tired for the next 4, 6, 8 weeks.
Well, thankfully, we weren't made to pay, did walk away with all 3 points thanks to those 3 goals. I think we can take a look at them again now. Why not? I think I've seen these a number of times, but not going to tire of seeing this. I mean, Sarr gave Matt Targett such a tough time down that right side, didn't he, right from the word go? Well,
Targett still hasn't recovered and he wasn't in Villa's starting lineup today. Perhaps unsurprising, but every time we went down that right-hand side, and Cleverley's link play as well with Sarr, all the way down that right-hand side. I mean, I know we'll be talking to Craig Cathcart later, but he was really solid in front of Sarr, and because of Sarr's energy and pace and willingness to run, he created all sorts of problems for Aston Villa. And Dennis's enthusiasm in the middle of the pitch to get his goal like he did, and then he put Sarr in for his finish. Perhaps a little bit fortunate, but if you don't shoot, you don't score. So you can see, it's always great to see players scoring, but the first day back at Vicarage Road with those supporters in the stadium, they couldn't have dreamed of the first 45 minutes.
Yeah, if
like
you were
that.
one of those fans in that corner of the Sir Elton John, actually, blimey, you got value for money, didn't you?
That was the top corner to be in, wasn't it? I think anywhere down this side. And then obviously in the second half, you get Hernandez coming onto the pitch, scoring a goal like that within a minute.
I mean, we talked about it in Hive Live Extra, didn't we? But again, just seeing that now, he's waited so long for that moment, and he took it with both hands, didn't he?
And ironically, it was good play from Kutska and in the middle of the pitch, and the referee to play the advantage. That might have been ruled out if the referee had already had this whistle in his mouth. So to do that, he had very few options, but to have that confidence to cut inside and hit the far post there against a top Premier League goalkeeper that Martinez is developing into, I think it was just fabulous at that stage. And to hear the buzz, because Villa had been getting back into the game at that stage, so it was a really vital point to get that goal and give us that extra breathing space that we actually needed in the end.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of breathing space, you can see the way that Cucho's bent over there. 'Cause I think for a moment he was having to get his breath back, thinking, blimey, I've just come on, and within a minute there, I've scored my debut goal. Do you expect the players, especially the debutants, to be as highly charged today? Because being back at Vicarage Road, first chance in front of all the home fans, it's going to be a bit different now they've got that out the way. And I suppose now perhaps the reality of the whole season itself will be hitting these players. Yeah,
I'm not sure the players will be thinking of the whole season, but it will be definitely different for them. The preparation will be different because they've travelled differently, and then they're arriving at the stadium, they're going through Brighton supporters as opposed to Watford supporters from last week. And last week it was red hot, this weekend it's different weather, so there's an awful lot of contrasts for them to deal with. But they'll still be excited about playing their next Premier League game. Why wouldn't you be? It's, for the majority of them, it's the first, certainly for the new signings.
I mentioned it already, there were just so many reasons that match day was a special one. We've touched on it being the Graham Taylor match day. Not that any of us needed reminding, but it's so clear, isn't it, that he is still so special to these Watford fans.
Yeah, and I think it was important. We joked about it before last week's game, but he loved both of his spells at both clubs, but I certainly firmly in the camp that it had made him smile, Watford beating Aston Villa in the first game back in the Premier League because of his love for both clubs. But I know what he thought of this football club.
It was our privilege to have Rita and the family here, but it would have been a really special day for them as well, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it's always nice, and I know, having spoken to Rita on several occasions, she's always happy to come back, and the family gets bigger every time they come back, so there's more of them, which is great, and the supporters really appreciate. Now the gaffer's gone, but Rita and the family are still here, and it's important that they're applauded too.
Well, to show exactly what Graham Taylor does mean to the town of Watford, I don't know if you've seen this, but this week, Tommy, a mural has been painted in the town to honour our greatest ever manager. It's quite something, isn't it?
It really is fabulous. Obviously, it's in his first spell at the club, but yeah, that just summarises what this town thinks of GT. Sometimes I call him GT, sometimes I call him Gaffer. He's still the Gaffer to me, and to do this and for everybody to make so much fuss about it and it gets so much publicity, it shows you what and how he was revered in this place. I've just driven past the statue outside, and he's got a cap and a football.
Aww.
With him. He's Mr. Watford.
Yeah, I think the fans have been taking care of him, especially this last week or so. But you touched on it there. We said pre-match, didn't we? I think I put that awful question to you: which result would he have wanted last weekend? But lovely to see some Aston Villa fans, some young ones out there just holding up a Taylor shirt, because the legacy lives on, doesn't it?
Yeah, and they were brilliant as well in the 72nd minute. So the Villa fans appreciate him because, like we talked about previously, he was extremely successful at Aston Villa too, not just Watford, in both spells. Second one at Villa, perhaps not so much as his first one, whereas here, it's just promotions followed him, and that's why everybody loves him.
Yes, half-time last Saturday, there was also a really special moment when we had the opportunity to thank the NHS for the incredible work that they've been doing, specifically in the last 18 months or so. So our friends from Watford General Hospital were with us, and I think if you didn't have a tear in your eye already, everyone did at this point, didn't they?
Yeah, it was brilliant to see. I mean, John Marks and I were on live at half-time. We stayed on air, and I stood up and clapped, and everybody else in the press area followed suit. So I just thought it was great to see them in their different colours, you know, the different staff members. There was some in scrubs walking around, and they just kept coming.
I know.
There was hundreds of them, and everybody in the stadium was on their feet applauding them. And you can see what, you know, it means to those.
Yeah. It was another one, a bit like GT. It really did unite both sets of fans, didn't it? I don't know if you noticed that. I think to start with, some of the Villa fans were sort of singing or doing their own thing, but as soon as they realised what was going on, they were very much...
I thought they were very good, the Villa fans, and that's difficult for me to say as an ex-Birmingham City player. But no, they were exceptional, equally as were the Watford fans. And it just shows we've all been through a difficult year. And I think, you know, for something like that, we're so close to the hospital here that it was very fitting in my view.
Yeah, and it just gives you that perspective, doesn't it? Yes, we were there for Premier League football and we're all very excited about that. But it is moments like that, again, just remind you of the bigger picture, don't they, and what's really important.
And that's what you'd expect of this club.
Yeah.
I don't think there'd be too many other clubs in the country that certainly not as close as to the hospital as we are, but also have such a clear link with the hospital. And football or not, those people are far more important.
Just before we move on, going back to the mural, I wondered if you could confirm or deny some rumours that are going round. Apparently there is currently a mural underway on the outskirts of Stoke City for their greatest ever loanee. Were you aware of that?
Let's just get it out of the way. Just keep coming with that sort of banter, Emma Saunders. It's fine. I can find myself a new co-host.
There we go again. I don't think we got a chance to play this last week, so just thought I'd remind our viewers who were with us last year on Hive Live, those new viewers, club hero Tommy Mooney, that's with us today, did actually score against our beloved Watford. And it's one of your finest moments, wasn't it, Tommy?
It's a muted celebration. The Watford supporters were down at the very far end of the stadium. It wasn't in front of them. And everybody that knew was in that stadium knows that that was just a private moment for me, because I knew...
You and all the thousands of others, right? Yes.
I'd had a tough couple of months at Stoke. I made a mistake going there. Got sent off on my debut.
The benefit of hindsight, hey?
Yes. So I was just pleased to get a goal and get out of the way.
Well, luckily for you, time is ticking on, so I think we can look at the team news now. And we will look at Brighton first. I'll come into that in a moment. Let's go to the all-important Watford team news. So one change for the Hornets this afternoon, and it's Lusa that's coming in for Kucka. So there were reports this week that Kucka had sustained an injury that might have put him out for a while, but we are pleased to say it's not as serious as being reported. But he doesn't make the squad today, is expected to be back in contention for a place within the next few days. But what about the rest of that Watford side?
Yeah, I think the old adage is you never change a winning team. But obviously through injury we've had to do that. And Imran Lusa came on for the last 15 minutes at Crystal Palace and sat in the middle of the pitch, got a few shots away with his left foot. So it'd be interesting to see how he approaches that. But the balance of the team and the majority of the structure of the team will certainly be the same. He'll just slot into that role. And again, you know, we were just looking at the bench. That's a strong squad that we've got, and we're going to need that strong squad. So it's how they adapt to what's the next new thing for them is an away game in the Premier League.
I think we're all quite excited to see that right side again for Watford. We're going to get onto the Brighton team in a moment or two, but that could be a real area of weakness which Sarr and Dennis can get into, right? Yeah,
well, the way that they attacked Aston Villa last week, and you know, we've already joked about how Matt Targett had such a tough 45 minutes, but you know, Tyrone Mings was in the England squad in the summer, and Dennis gave him a torrid time. So I think that energy and enthusiasm, I don't think it's going to disappear very quickly. So they'll approach this game as they approach the last one and each and every other one. And hopefully we get the same results.
What about Etebo? He was another one that was very impressive last week.
Cruised it for me. I thought he was very, very dominant in the middle of the pitch. He was one of those where it was almost like you didn't think he moved in the game, but wherever the ball was and wherever he was needed, he was there. And I said on the commentary, he's got a real strange technique of the way that he tackles, because he stays square to the ball. But normally you'd think he'd tackle with one foot, but he'd done that on so many occasions. And breaking up play in the Premier League is going to be a massive thing for central midfielders. And Etebo last week was excellent. Yeah,
he was another one. They all just seem to gel together so well. And I think, I'd admit, I'm guilty of it as well. Perhaps you read too much into pre-season results. But that team, they just came together, didn't they? And the four in there that we had never seen before. You'd hope more of the same from Loser, that he just slots in today.
Yeah, I think we talk about pre-season, and that team, that starting 11 had never played together. But they knitted together very, very quickly once the ball rolled at 3 o'clock. And today you'd hope it's going to be the same. Brighton are a possession-based team, which for a Premier League season, you wouldn't expect that of one of the lower, perhaps ranked sides, but they are possession based, and we'll hold in our shape a little bit more today than we did at home to Aston Villa. So in theory it could be a little bit more structured and easier to start the game, because we don't have to get on the front foot. That will come later at some point. Brighton have to bring the game to us.
Yeah, before we talk more specifically about Brighton, just on the way that this Watford side have all come together and really gelled so quickly, how much of that do you think is Xisco and this team spirit that he seems to have cultivated last season and managed to transition through to this season?
I think it's his experience of it. He certainly brought it in. We've seen how everybody was smiling dealing with Xisco and how he approached the players last year, and he wants to develop the atmosphere in the dressing room. And he certainly did that last season. And a winning dressing room is an infectious place. I think they won something like 19 games since Xisco came in. So, you know, to have that feeling, and if it's Sweet Caroline or not in the dressing room, that winning feeling is you want it to be repeated as many times as you can. So certainly he'll try and get the players on side, keep them on side for as long as he can, because that's what gets you through difficult points in a game.
Just briefly then on Brighton, you and I were deliberating this actually, how they might set up, because it does seem to be at left back that they have this issue. I was sure I'd seen somewhere that they're playing a back three with Gross as almost a left wing back. Do you think we might see that again today? But you seem to think Webster was more of a right back with the two centre halves. Yeah,
I think Gross played at the left back, but nobody is going to want to play left back against Watford this season with Ismaïla Sarr in the team. That's a fact. So they might argue the point several times between the opposition players. But yeah, whether it's a 3 or a 4 at the back, they'll still try and play out from the back. They're very strong centrally. Dunk and the other centre-back, Duffy. Very strong with the ball going in the box. But also the way that Watford played last week with that counter-attack and break down the right-hand side, that's going to be a threat to whether it's a 2 centre-halves or 3 centre-halves. That's a huge threat against any team. So hopefully we see more of that.
And who are the other real threats? I mean, we know all about Mopai, but Lallana as well in that lineup today. Yeah,
Lallana, very good technical footballer, which you'd expect in a possession-based team. Mopai is one of those that likes to cause havoc, works really, really hard, perhaps needs too many chances to score a goal. Hopefully that continues today. And I think historically it's their lack of goals is what's kept them towards the bottom of the Premier League in recent years, and I don't think they've spent an awful lot of money or brought too many goal scoring threats into the team so far this transfer window. So it'll be interesting to see how that develops today, particularly at home. They've got to bring the game to us. Away from home it might suit them a little bit better. And you know, you were telling me, because you're so knowledgeable, you were telling me about Brighton's poor home record. So I'll have to...
because you're not on commentary duty today. I know you can't put me right on it, so I just thought I'd go for it.
Well, I have it on very good authority that they struggle at home early on in the Premier League season.
We'll have to see what Rob Elliott says about that, hey?
We'll see what he says. I'm sure you're going to think he's great.
Just going back to Brighton, I think you've used the phrase already. Are they an established Premier League side now? Because yes, granted, they've had 4 seasons in the top flight, but let's be honest, they've struggled. I think their best finish has been 15th.
Yeah, but there's plenty of other teams that would happily take 15th over the last 5 years rather than being relegated. So I would consider we were an established Premier League team, but we've proven you can get relegated. They're going to struggle this season unless they sort out their goals ratio.
Yes, they are. If there is another area of the field, though, that Watford should be targeting this afternoon, we've talked about the left-back situation. Is there any other area that you think Watford might get the better of them today?
I think we've got a threat on both sides. Ken Sema, it was almost like he was quiet last week, but that was because of the success of the right-hand side. It's almost, we were having so much success down the right-hand side. Why mix it up? You know, it was very rare that we switched play and went out to the left-hand side. I think today it might be a little bit more balanced because we won't have as much possession of the ball, certainly earlier in the game. So, yeah, always, as you know, Ken Sema is a threat for me. And if Dennis is, he can give as much hassle and trouble that he did last week's centre-halves. If he can do that to the Brighton centre-halves, that's going to be good to see too.
And Graham Potter, we're going to hear from him in a moment or two, but what do you make of the job that he's done and is continuing to do? And his beard, actually. You a fan of that?
I'm not a fan of beards. There's certainly more grey in my beard. But no, he did very, very well when he took the job. He came from almost obscurity to take the Brighton job. He's been thought of as a very good coach for a long time, but he's stepped up and he's picked some good teams to play at Brighton. I know Brighton quite well as a club, and they're very, very structured from the top all the way through. Their recruitment departments put an awful lot of hours in. They certainly need to do that at the top end of the pitch. You know, they took Mopai from Brentford. He hasn't been the answer. They need to find another way of evening out that goal difference.
Yeah. Well, let's hear from the Brighton head coach now. Here is Graham Potter giving his thoughts ahead of today's game.
And last one from me. What have you made of Watford analysing their first match? And also just talking about the promoted sides in general. What's the calibre of those 3 promoted sides in general this season?
I think high is the calibre. I think Watford have done really well. The coach there has done a fantastic job. Came in when the club won necessarily a good moment in the Championship, and it's looked like galvanised and got them together, and fantastic to achieve promotion. They've got some really talented players, and a team spirit there that it looks like they're fighting for each other and then make it difficult. So deserved win against Aston Villa, which is not easy to do. So they come with 3 points as well from the opening day. So it's going to be a tough game.
So Graham Potter, very complimentary of Watford there. That's his record, Tommy. I mean, you tell us, what do you make of those numbers?
They're still in the Premier League. That's
the politician's answer.
That's
what do you make of those numbers?
The be-all and end-all is they stay in the Premier League. Yeah, you'd want to see, if I was a Brighton fan, you'd want to see your team winning more than 26 games out of 86. But they're all in the Premier League. So you're coming up against top opponents every week. We just hope that there's not one more in the one column after today's game.
With a record like that, when you look at some of the flack that some Premier League managers do get, he doesn't seem to get much, does he, Graham Potter? But I suppose he's quite unassuming generally in the media, isn't he? He's not one of those that tends to give headlines. And as we heard there, he's very complimentary to other clubs.
There's no controversy around him, is there? Which there is. It seems to follow some other managers. But I think he just gets on with his job and does it quietly. He fits into the Brighton ethos because, like I said before, that in each and every department they have similar personalities to that. It's probably why I don't fit into that personality type, because I like to shout and scream if things are done not the way I want them.
What do you think Brighton fans, though, make of him? Do you think they're quite happy with him still overall? Because he's on quite an extended contract there, isn't he?
He extended his contract really quickly, which was a huge surprise for me, because he was not just an outsider to the Premier League, he was an outsider to most of football. You know, you'd heard his name with the success that he'd had in Scandinavia and other teams. But, he's gone in, and like I say, he's fitted in well there with arguably quite a small budget. So they're building the reputation of the football club. You know, Dan Ashworth left England to go to Brighton as CEO. So, you know, it's one of those where they're trying to do things right, and maybe those statistics there suggest that they're just ticking along nicely without actually pulling up trees.
Yeah, I just wonder, I suppose the question is, was it worth for the fans getting rid of Chris Hughton? Because I think the whole point was they wanted to see a different style, didn't they? And in the table, perhaps, the club haven't necessarily moved on very much. But do you think the fans will feel as if they're seeing a much more enjoyable Brighton side now, even if the results don't always show it?
I think it's because they have a desire to pass the ball. They do tend to overpass at times, but perhaps if they had that goal-scoring striker, they'd put the ball in the box more often. So I think that's going to be the key to it from a Brighton supporters' perspective. But today, when they're back in the Premier League, back at the Amex, they're not going to be worried about Potter's record. They're just going to be looking forward to the game.
Very true. Yes, so Watford playing in Brighton this afternoon in their new red kits. What do you make of this one, Tommy?
Yeah, it's a nice kit. It doesn't have the black shorts and black socks that we know that I like. But I think that's a little bit more old school. And you know I like old school. So yeah, plain red.
More for the traditionalists amongst us.
I was trying to think of the word that you often call me.
There we go.
But no, it looks really good, and you know, running away, scoring a goal with that on your back.
Yeah, extra motivation for those players. So it's the first time Watford are wearing the red kit this season. Actually, the first time at all since the 2017-18 season. And you would have seen the little advert the club are running. It was launched at the training ground with members of the Watford women. Their newly promoted side. So you can buy that shirt if you haven't already. It's available at the Hornets shop, online or in person. So just a reminder again today, Tommy's in the studio with us, but full commentary on the way from Brighton, Rob Elliott alongside John Marks. And coming up, the Hornets in EFL Cup action against Crystal Palace here on Tuesday evening. That's a 7:45 kickoff. And then we are on the road again in the Premier League next Sunday over the bank holiday away at Tottenham Hotspur. Have you been to the new stadium, Tommy?
No, I haven't. No, it looks very good on TV.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Be great, packed with Watford fans, hopefully, if we can win there as well.
Yeah, it'd be nice if it's on the fourth win of the season, would it be?
Yeah.
Looking ahead a little bit, but it would be nice.
I like the optimism, it's great, it can stay. Okay, up next, we are going to be hearing from one of the club's new signings. So, following the expiry of his contract at Everton, Watford moved very quickly to secure the services of experienced Premier League striker Joshua King earlier this summer. So here he is speaking exclusively to Hive Live.
Tell us a little bit about how you've been settling in and how you're finding things.
No, obviously it's unbelievable to come here. Struggled with a little injury, which set me back, so I've not been training too much with the lads. But the lads have been good. I know a few of the lads from before, so it's been very easy to settle in, and had good chats with the manager and the staff.
Let me sort of take you back to the sort of start of, well, not just career but life. Tell us a little bit about sort of growing up in Norway and what that was like before you then came over to Man United.
No, it was good. I had a 10 out of 10 childhood. Still with the day ones from Oslo, who's my closest friends to this day. It was just football 24/7. Got home from school, was forced to do my homework, and then out to play football till the sun went down. But it was an amazing childhood, and then got scouted by United when I was 15 and moved over there when I was 16. Really enjoyed my time there, and obviously now is a fresh new start with Watford.
We've got a few lads here that have obviously come through the Man United academy like yourself. Just how much does that teach you about the game, about you as a person?
Every player that plays for Man United academy has something. Otherwise, United wouldn't sign you. They see a potential, they see a talent. But it don't work out for everyone in United. But one thing United was very good at that time with Sir Alex Ferguson was keeping the lads humble, hard work, and that football is a team sport. That was very, very, very integrated into our heads as young footballers. And I feel like if you look at Kafka, if you look at Klevs, it's all integrated in them. Hard work, humble, team players. So I think that's one of the most things I learned from growing up and going through that academy, because Sir Alex Ferguson was very on. If you don't work hard, then talent's not enough.
Watford and Bournemouth. Two clubs, so the approach is probably very different. Is there a magic formula, or?
I feel like when Bournemouth first got promoted to the Premier, it was the first time in the Premier League as a club. And I just remember everyone was so hungry. I get that same feeling that when I came to Bournemouth, when they just got promoted, like Watford now, that everyone is like hungry to clench that and stay in this league. And it's going to be a very tough season. There's some good teams in this league, but the good thing about Premier League, everyone can beat everyone if someone has a bad day and someone has a good day. So I'm very looking forward to it.
What can we achieve this season? What can you achieve this season?
No, I think our main target is to stay up. It's really important to have a good start. I think we can achieve a lot with this squad. Like I said earlier in the interview, the most important is if we work hard, stick together as a team, and play good football together, then that should be no problem. We have so many good talents. I have watched Ismaïla Sarr in training, and he's a joke. So I'm really looking forward to playing with him.
So although it didn't really work out for him at Everton, I suppose the fact that he was even signed by Carlo Ancelotti in the first place does say quite a lot about his potential, at least.
Yeah, that's got to be a boost for your personality, hasn't it? One of the best managers in the world wants you as his player, but it never worked for him. That happens. So, you know, I think that'll probably make him hungrier to come here and be a success, because he's gone up there and wasted a period of time really in his career. And, you know, when players look back, you realise that you don't have time to waste. You need to fulfil all of it. It's all right having all the nice things that surround football, but if you're not playing football, you're not really a footballer. So that's perhaps my view of it. So why he's wanted to move on and come to a club like Watford.
He's gone on record saying it didn't really work out as planned at Everton. So I suppose then he does come here with a bit of a point to prove as well, hey? Yeah,
absolutely, because Bournemouth made him stay there. I'm sure he had several options a little bit earlier before he actually did leave Bournemouth. So I think it was one of them where he found it difficult to get out, and then was pleased to go to Everton. It never worked out, but he's almost scored 50 goals in the Premier League for Bournemouth. So
what do you like about him as a player? What you've seen?
Because he's very direct.
Yeah.
I like that. Pace and strength and confidence in front of goal. You know, it's not easy in front of when you're away from home, and like today at Brighton, it's not easy to take that chance and take that shot and risk, you know, the wrath of the away supporters, if you like. So that confidence to shoot and miss, and keep going. That's the main thing. It never really bothered me. They would call me names anyway, so it didn't matter whether I scored or I missed. They were still going to call me names.
Right, as we continue our build-up to today's game, we can hear from another Watford player now. So here are the thoughts of Craig Cathcart and what we need to do on the South Coast this afternoon in order to make it 2 wins out of 2 so far this Premier League season. Brighton then this weekend, a little while since Watford last won at the Amex, but great memories, hey, when you last did.
Was that the last one?
Yeah.
Don't always think of, yeah. Yeah, great memories of the bus journey, especially on the way home when we found out we were promoted. But you know, it's a difficult place to go, Brighton. Nice stadium, nice to play at, but they're always a tough team to play against, and we'll be expecting a tough game definitely in the weekend. I'm
sure that day back in 2015 is a bit of a blur, but what are your kind of standout memories from it? You've mentioned the bus journey back there. Yeah, the bus journey is definitely a standout. We found out literally as we pulled in the gates here at the training ground that we were promoted, so we were literally straight into Watford, celebrating with the fans, and yeah, that's the last of the memories. And I think from the game itself, it's just probably Vidra's goal. Just the relief of getting that second goal, and we knew the game was dead and buried then. So, yeah, that was an exhausting moment, definitely. It's crazy to think that was 5 or 6 years ago now. Watford getting promoted that day. I think no one really expected it. I don't know what you remember about the day, Tommy, but about 3 other results that elsewhere had to come in after Watford had won at lunchtime at Brighton. So I think there were a lot of fans either sort of staying down in Brighton enjoying the day, or like me with a lot of the media team on the train on the way back, and the signal kept breaking up and we didn't know if goals were going in or not, if Watford were promoted or not, but it was amazing. But to think those players were on the bus on the way back not knowing if they were going to be promoted, and then that euphoria of promotion. Can you imagine what it would have been like for them?
No, and that's the excitement of the end of season, isn't it? When everything culminates in who's going up and who's not. So, yeah, great for the players at the time and the Watford supporters, wherever they were at that point. I'm sure everybody will remember certainly last season's promotion, where we all know where we were.
Yeah.
And in Hive Live, the studio, we enjoyed it just as much as the players seemed to on the pitch. But yeah, very, very different now having the supporters back.
I think we saw it at the start of that interview with Craig. He was even shocked to see that Watford haven't won at the Amex since that game in 2015, which is quite surprising, really. I think especially with Brighton's home record in the Premier League, 'cause it's not been great. So you think, hopefully, this is the day where Cisco and this current couple of players can change that.
Well, unless you're giving me duff info on on how
Again,
bad they are
Rob
at
Elliott
home.
will have this come 5:20 this evening.
Will have it.
He'll definitely have it.
I haven't prepped for comms, so I don't know that fact. But no, certainly, yeah, you'd expect that because of the results that we've had over the years. But nevertheless, it's one of those that records have to be broken. So going back today, very, very different circumstances to any other time that we've played there. So yeah, I don't think it has reference to the players' point of view that are playing today.
I suppose the other thing is as well, you know, we're harping on about how Brighton will have the home fans there, and I think the Amex carries something like 30,000. Again, you have to check that with our co-commentator Rob Elliott this evening. But the away end mustn't be underestimated either. Those Watford fans are going to make so much noise today, aren't they? Because how long have they had to wait for this?
No, exactly. And a mate of mine that I play golf with, he's gone down today, and we were having arguments about whether it was better to drive or get the train down today. So his son's there for the weekend. But yeah, they'll love going to Brighton for the weekend. Perhaps not with the rain outside, but certainly just to go. They've had the home game at Vicarage Road. Now they want that away day, and today's their first away day for over a year. So they'll certainly make themselves heard. And if we start the game like we did last week, you know, I'm fairly certain it'll be in the background of Rob and John's comms. Yeah. We'll hear the Watford supporters.
What about when you're a player? I know when you speak to a lot of players, they say actually once you get out on the pitch, you're so focused, it's quite hard to hear the crowd. Can you hear an away end? Do you have memories of that, of being on the road and being able to really hear those Watford supporters?
Yeah, I think you do.
Or Stoke City, 'cause I'm sure they were chanting your name really loud as well, actually, weren't they?
Actually, that night, and this will make you smile, that night the Watford supporters were singing my name louder than the Stoke ones. That's probably detriment to how bad I was for Stoke.
Yeah, I'd love to hear the rest of those lyrics as well, perhaps not for Hive Live. Yeah.
No, they were very polite.
But yeah, the away end, then you think this will be something that those Watford players will be able to hear today?
I think it's often talked about how loud the away supporters are, because they're generally, we've seen it with Aston Villa last week. I've seen a lot of games at Villa Park and you don't get the atmosphere that those Villa supporters brought last week. So I think it's almost like a bit of a competition where the minority is trying to outsing the majority. So I'm very confident that the Watford fans will be heard today.
And how do Watford start this game then? Because at home there was a high tempo, wasn't it? Right from the word go, we really went for it. Should that be the approach today?
I think it'll perhaps be a little bit more patient, but if we can ruin another left back, that'd be ideal also, by just getting Sarr in that right-hand channel. If it's not broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
So if that opportunity arises, the pace of Ken and Ismaïla down the outsides, and then you know, with Dennis in the middle of the pitch causing havoc, get the ball forward as much as we can. I do think that the three in midfield will sit a little bit deeper than they did last week, because we've seen how cleverly was encouraged to go forward. I think certainly in the early stages of today, it'll be more about keeping the shape.
It does make you wonder if the left side will actually be the area to exploit, because it's almost like Watford are a bit predictable already in that they know the pace and what Watford can do down that right-hand side. And if Brighton are already a bit aware of that being a potential area of weakness for them, it just makes you wonder whether Watford really should try and use the left as well today.
Yeah, absolutely. But you can also use that, because they'll be doubling up on Ismaïla Sarr on the right hand side. If we can switch play and get it over to Ken Sema, then it gives Dennis in the middle of the pitch even more space when the ball comes in the box. And obviously we've got midfielders that can score goals as well. So you know, all over the pitch, I think we can be a threat. We've just got to be confident, start, organised, which I'm sure it will be, and get on the front foot.
Okay, well, that brings us to the end of our build-up here on Hive Live. But don't forget, we've only mentioned it a couple of times, Rob Elliott on match commentary today alongside John Marks, and that is free for all Watford fans to enjoy on the club's website. So watfordfc.com for full match commentary of Watford's trip down to Brighton. Rob Elliott alongside John Marks today. We're looking forward to that, aren't we, Tommy?
Well, absolutely, Emma.
Yes, we are. So do make sure to keep an eye across the club's YouTube channel a little bit later as well. We will be recording Hive Live Extra at the conclusion of the game. Fingers crossed with another 3 points to talk about, and there will be highlights of the game in there as well. So analysis along the way a little bit later, but for now we'll say our goodbyes, and as we say here inside Vicarage Road, make some noise wherever you are and get behind the Golden Boys.